Alright, so I'm going to start the video off with time-based corrector, actually. So right now what's happening is the Sima is sending a video signal into my other Sima. This is a Sima color processing video enhancer, Sima Pro Edit 3, and it allows me to do things like increase the strength of the signal, the color tint of the signal, the overall color of the signal, and detail, which is like sharpening. What you're seeing right now is all the wild effects that it can kind of do in conjunction with the sfx-11. Perfect example here, I will drive up the gain all the way, so I'm sending it a very powerful signal, but it's still unstable. And as you can see, we have a pretty consistent image here. Like, yes, it's all white, but it's smooth, it's holding. Now I'm going to introduce the signal of the V4, and we lose signal. And it comes in and out. Some of those glitches look kind of cool, but it's not stable anymore. It's a complete mess. If we were to look at the V4 on its own, I guess we can't really do that. But yeah, it's not great. So that's one of the powers of the SFX, is that it will hold a signal and it'll do it really well. That comes into use as you fuck it up with more feedback loops and other things that you got going on. Anyways, to get to the point, so let's go back to this feedback loop. So right now I have it set between a feedback loop between the V4 and a feedback loop between the Pro Edit 3. As you can see here, we have the ability to kind of like blend between them. As we blend between them, they do affect each other in interesting ways. That's the mix feature. This isn't a great example. If I switch it down to the camera feedback instead. So camera feedback, and as we go up, we're mixing in some of the other feedback happening with the V4. And as such, anything the V4 does is going to affect that in different ways. My favorite feature of the V4, and the reason why I think anybody who does this should have one, is the mirror effects. Those alone to me make this guy useful. So if you're using feedback without a mirror, you'll notice that it all kind of goes a direction. Sometimes it's left, sometimes it's right, sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down, but it's always in a direction. Of course, that is, to me, better if it's symmetrical. It just adds a whole clarity to everything that I really enjoy. Because we have two mixers here, the way that we have them mixed between, in total now, 4 signals, one here which is the camera feedback, one here which is the camera feedback, one which is the feedback going this way, and one which is the feedback doing the same thing. So they have a cumulative effect that can do some really interesting things. Anyways, so that's the standard wipe feature on this guy. I turn off all these other effects that I now turn on. You also have, sorry, that was the mix, not the wipe. The wipe allows you to transition in and out with like a shape. So here it's this diamond. A little hard to tell because of the nature of all the feedback we have going on, but so that's diamond. If you continue to press this button, you get different shapes. If you press this twice, you get soft and hard versions of those. And this one will give you multiples, or some other type of weird variation. Your joystick is used for moving these guys around, as well as the picture-in-picture mode. It moves that guy around as well. Picture-in-picture is pretty cool. These will change to different sizes. If you press the background button, or background color button, it will change the border of your picture-in-picture. Wipe also has like side to side. Once again, all of these have variations. Corner, these kind of like both from the side or even a cross. I love cross transitions. I think they're awesome. If you pair that up with, say, some mirroring, and maybe some luma keying out the whites, some pretty crazy stuff, real fast and easy. If we switch the order in which these are, I don't like that as much. Something to learn about the Sima is that some of the things you got to do is like combination button presses for the video source select. It's a bit odd, it's not super intuitive in comparison to a lot of other mixers, but you'll get the hang of it pretty quick. Just read the manual, honestly. It'll teach you everything you need to do. Take a look at that though. Pretty fascinating. I don't think that I can really explain everything too well. I think showing you is more valuable. Now let's get out of white mode and enter mix mode again. So we're now blending images once again. I have a pixelization mode kind of going on there, mixed in with negative on both. So it's trying to invert the color of the image. Let's add just a bunch of effects in general and see what we can get kind of going on here. So you can kind of see that there's this faint top layer which is pixelated and the bottom layer isn't pixelated very much. There we go. Gives you a better example of that. So that's the Sima doing that pixelation effect. It's called Mosaic. Let's turn off everything there. So this is not only with the camera, but the V4 having this like style of effect that duplicates into like squares, but because it's feedbacking, it's duplicating into more squares and more squares and more squares and more squares, and that's how we get this infinite kind of weird branching fractal, but in square form. I am tired and already running out of much to say. My other video was way too long and I got way too deep into it, so hopefully me just showing some of this stuff can give you some cool ideas. So here's an example of negative and mirroring So negative is, of course, on every repeat of the feedback, going to try to reverse the image. Blend in some of the camera, turn that pixelization back on. A little too far. Why is that so white? 1 second here. Oh. So this is an example of color correctors being really awesome. They can really add in a lot of color fuckery with any type of feedback loop. So if we cut out, say, the whites of that pulsing image, we got that feedback going on instead. Let's do that a little bit more. And let's not quite what I'm looking for. Oh, yeah. Negative. So you also have luma keying and chroma keying on the Sima, so you can cut out the blacks with whites. You also have a blue mode. I haven't really experimented with it. I typically do luma keying instead of chroma keying. You do not have a green screen from my understanding, it's just blue. Which is a bit of a bummer. I think green screen is more common, but we'll still get some cool stuff. What do I got going on here? Too many effects going on, and I lost track of what was kind of going on there. So, oh, hey, that's kind of cool. What can I do with that? Well, I lost it. Anyways, exploring this stuff leads to a lot of trial and error, and just kind of fucking around and finding out, really. I find it fascinating to do. I've been doing it for about 2 years now. I've spent way more hours than I like to think. I've done about 20 performances live with the local rave scene here in the Yukon. However, I don't often use a lot of the analog stuff for that, just because it can be so wild and unpredictable that I find it a bit hard to perform with. I am looking at ways to integrate both hardware and software into a really fantastic realm, and I have a good amount of experience with a few different devices, like the Sleepy Circuits Hypno and the Entropy and Sons Fractal Recursion Studio device. Both are fantastic, but if there's anything I'd recommend for you, it would probably be V4. V4 is just such a fantastic piece of gear, and it's going to pair so nicely with your Sima. As you can see, we got quite a bit of stuff kind of going on here. Did my camera die? Nope. There we go. A little bit more what I was looking for. I don't know why the screen's so dark. Yeah. Hopefully this gives you a few ideas what to do with your unit. I'm sure you will have a blast with it. You're always able to reach out to ask questions, and I do recommend joining that Discord group. Amazing people in there, a lot of knowledge. Everyone's very friendly, and we love to see newcomers. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm totally out of energy and not able to really describe this any better than I already have right now. So hopefully that the 17-minute video went over enough to really excite you. All right, have a good one.